Today we're going to be making distorted sounds inspired by Kanye West's Yeezus album. I started by humming a note into the built-in speaker on my laptop.
Money never made me do something, nah, can't make me.
Let's start with the send it up lead. To create this melody, I used MPE mode to add pitches that aren't fully in tune. So for example, this C is up, this next note pitches down, and then it lands halfway between the B and the C. If you don't have the MPE mode, you could also use pitch bend to do this. Sometimes when you're using analog synths, the notes aren't fully in tune, and there are sequences that you can create notes and melodies that don't snap to a pitch grid. So to create the synth sound, it's actually very simple. We start with a saw, add some glide, and for this I've actually added note to the glide, so different notes have different glide times. Make the sound lose energy as you hold down the key. Remove some highs. Sine, fold, distortion, but turn down the mix. Reverb and an EQ. And to make our sound even wider, invert the phase of one of the sides and increase the width. All of the sounds from this video and all of the sounds from my previous videos are available on my Patreon. So if you guys want to use these sounds in your music, join the rest of our Patreons today. Next, let's make the intro bass from on-site. To create a lot of the distorted sounds that Kanye West uses, we need to use a special type of distortion called fold back distortion. To create this on-site sound, I'm using a free synth called Vital, so you can all follow along. And we need to start with a saw and add a filter. Then we're going to use a free wavefolding plugin called M Wavefolder by Melder Productions. Automate the drive to add some movement to the sound. And we're going to finalize the sound by adding some more distortion. To add more depth to the sound, we're going to bring in oscillator 2. This is pitched down an octave, and turn the level down. And we're going to use LFO1 to control the volume of oscillator 2. So to create this sound, we started with a synth preset, then we added fold back distortion. But what happens if instead of using a synth preset, we use an 808? To create this sound, it's a little bit more advanced. We're going to split our sound into 3 different layers so we can process the different frequencies of our sound differently. We start with 808. And that is going to be our sub layer. On a sub layer, there's no plugins. We're then going to create a mid layer. For this mid layer, we're going to use 2 wave folders. Here's the second one. Then we're going to isolate the mids by using a filter. You could use an EQ, but I'm just using an auto filter. And then at the start of the whole chain, we're going to add a reverb. Plug-in order is very important for this type of sound. If you add it at the end of the chain, you're going to get a complete different effect. But if the reverb feeds the distortion, and the third layer is going to be used for the top end. Then I'm going to make this wider by adding a shifter. So now we have 3 layers. The sub is the original 808. The mids has some reverb that's been distorted with 2 wave folders. And the high layer is stereo to add some width to the sound. Altogether we have this. But to glue all the layers together, we're going to add a saturator. and that sounds a lot more aggressive. And our third use of fallback distortion is going to be on a vocal sample. To create this sound, I started by humming a note into the built-in speaker on my laptop. I then tuned it and pitched it down. Next, we need to create a melody, so this is what I came up with. Then I added some fallback distortion with the M wave folder. Saturator again. And a reverb at the end of the chain.
Money never made me do something, nah, can't make me. Even if the money low, can't pay me. Even if the money low, can't play me.
And our final sound is the guilt trip bass. Start with a saw, add another saw but detune it slightly, and it's going to make our sound a lot bigger and thicker. Then we're going to add a filter to remove some highs, but make sure you use the dirty filter because this adds a lot more distortion and saturation to your sound. Here's without the saturation, and here's with. Then we're going to remove some excess highs by adding a filter around 7,400 Hz. If you found this video useful, hit the subscribe button and check out one of these videos.